Page 2.
Bo zong de de xin xie bo zha zhong bo yang da bo zo be san ge ri bo xia zu den bo re den wo re xie bo ji den jian bo ji wu du me ka lu la na me ba la da me na ji dun bo san ji chum den de be ge xia jia tu bo la jia de bo zhe lu jia lu ji Bo Jum De Xin Shen Bo Da Jung Yang Re Bo Da Xiao Su Den Ba De Wo Re Xie Bo Ji Den Jin Bo Ji Wu Du Wei Ka Lu Yu Lang A Da Me Na Ge Jun Bo San Ge Jung Den De Be Ge Wo Xia Jia Du Bo Zhang De Jue Du Jia Du Jie Bo Jung De 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 Xin Xie Bo Zhe Jung Bo Yang Da Lo Be San Jie Re Bo Da Xia Su Den Bo De Wo Re Xie Ji Den Jian Bo Ji Wu Du Wei Ka Lu Yu Bo La Na Da Da Me Na Ji Dun Bo San Ji Chung Den De Be Ye Wo Xia Jia Du Bo La Jia Zhe Du Jia Su Jie Wu Ka De Ga Ni Zu Wu Jie Da Sa Xian De La Gong Ba De Ka De Ji Den De La Xiu Jie Zong De Zi Jie Bo Jie La Jia Zhe Lu Tang Da Bu Wa Xiu De Zhen Bi Xie Jia Su Si Ji Lun Bo Zhang Zhang Ba Ji Den Song Nan Gong Bu Ju Yin Jie La Jia Zhe Sen Jiao Den Bo Jin Me Da Wei Jia Sen Du Zhao Wa Ge La Jia Lu Zhe Jie Na Si Ba Su Na Ji Niang Me Yin Yin Ge La Jia Gong Bu Du Ji Jian Den Bo Tang Ji Jian Bei Den Bo Bu So Na Yin Den Jia Zu Jian De Xin Xie La Jia Da Bei De Jia Zhe Wo Ju Ge Wei Nian Zuo Le Zhu Jie Du De Dong Ju Ju Bo Xin Ju Ju La Jia Zhe Ne Zhe Wei La Yang De La Ba Da La Xin Jie Dang Bo Yin De Ne Gin Du La Yang Jia De Bo Ji Yang Me Jiao Jin Ye Hua Du Sun So Hui Rang Ge Se Ne Yong Su De De Ne Sang Ge Den Bai Ga Ma Ra Ri Ma Me Dang Gyu Ma Se Bo Ju Me La Lo Dong Jin Dang Du Ji Ju Nang Di Da Da So Na Di Tham Ji Si Bo Yi Go Bong Tu Ne Yin Ge Ra Ga Da Na Da Chi Wei Lap Chu Le Si Bei So Le Zhe Wa Le
You the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the worlds, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to nothingness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of false, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by ways of aging, sickness, and death.
Baba Gujo Solo Jao Delo Dige Dage Dobo Dije Chode De Jebu Ga Chago Gumbo Longe Munge Gide Chembo Taju Zembe Gide Chembo Don Tao Jedu Shode De Ze Chode De Shijawe Shushe Nadage Tengen Zelo Nyubura Shusu Ya Ti Tse Janju Zembo Sembo Jembo Baba Chere Shira De Koru Samo Jebo Nila Namba Taje Bumbo Ngam Rama Ni Tomba Nambara Tabu Tene Sanji Tu Tsedan Demba Shiri Aju Sembo 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 Baba Chere Se Onju Le Gite Mesu Riji Ko Kala La Shira De Koru Samo Jebo Jebo Debo De Dara Nambara Cha Tege Jeme Bada Aju Sembo 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 Baba Chere Se Onju Sada Demba Shari Dade Bola Tige Jeme Su Shari Bu Riji Ko Riji La 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 shara je faru do jembo tamu jebo 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 de dara nambara tawa chade kombo ngabo de da la ya ra ik namba ya da ba jesu tao su tomba o tomba ni su de tomba ni shema yen tomba ni le ya su shema yin de shen do tomba da du je da nambara shepa na tomba o shari bu de da che da tomba ni Tinye me bo ma je bo ma go bo chima me bo chima da che bo che bo me bo go me bo sheri bo de da wo da tong pa ni la wa me du je me na ba me na wa me na me che me du me yi me su me la me che me ru me Shwe me do mi je ka me pa ne yi je ka me yi je na pa she de ka je pa do ya me do ma re pa se pa Kashi me kashi sebe babo ya me do de shen do dunge wo dang kunju wo dang ko ba da la me yi shi me do ma do ba ya me do sheri bu da da wa na ja se ba da to ba me bi shir shi la ge ba ru do chen ba la ten ji ne de sem la che ba me ji cha ba me de chi ji lo de shen Nyangele deve tara jindu duzungu nampe shupe sangye tamje jan shiraji parudu chimbala tene lana yadava dobe chanju dongo para dobe sangye zote da wena shiraji parudu chimbe nga riba chimbe nga lana mebe nga minyama da nyambe tunge daje radu shivara chibe nga minzube na deba shiba chade shiraji parudu me bate ata gate para san gate budi iso Sheribu chanchu sembo sembo chembo teta sherabi parudu chembo Obra chavo tene chunde te tengi zen tele shende chanchu sembo sembo chembo Haba chere se wanchu la leso she chavo chine leso vigi ku Tete shino tete shinde chidara chuji temba shindu sheraji parudu Samola chebra chade deshi shepa nanga Jesu yirang chumden degi degi cheka Seda temba shere tate buddha Shantu semba semba chembo Hapa chere se wanchu dan tempe ta tempe purra teta Tada mida lama yida tesa chebe chide Chonde deji sumba la ngomba te
Page 12. John 11. Page 11. Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha on Vulture Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and Boddhisattva. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in that concentration that examines all phenomena called profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Lokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom bound beyond, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Then to the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Lokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, "I should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom bound beyond." Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, replied to the Venerable Shariputra, saying, "O Shariputra, when learning the mother of the family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formations, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes, up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to, there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold the wisdom gone beyond. Because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times, by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awakened to unsurpassed, most perfect, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as the truth, for there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed. Taya, Gandhi, Gandhi, Paragandhi, Parakamsasya, Poste, O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, of some good family, and it's exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagata will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, and the world of its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So in the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
Right. 뭐야 다들이 나도 사고고 아니 준주고 지다 차대요 레스 준주 더블세베 저발라 주바 하스니 아무도 그르베 로마 예수 저바디 아니 저바 상고 매바디 파 더러 저바 상고를 라바스 어떻다 되지 보래서 뭐지
Oh yeah. This evening we resume the way of the Bodhisattva. The text describing the practices of the heirs to the Buddha, the Bodhisattva. These are the practices for us in our engaged action of body, speech, and mind, as we dispense with all that is destructive and adopt that which is constructive and beneficial.
근데 세상 인디서 마땅 아주 장주선배 저벌을 라바스게디 다 저바 탐지게 나네 저바 초도 주바 다시 자세 장주선배 저바스도 마다 저바 상쇼 저바 야쇼 다들 라비아게 아니 다 아니 라비아게 배제돼 진주 친구 사치 뭐들 지나가라도 라비아 고급 중화되 아니 겨와 상보이 인삼네 별로 럽죠 좋아야고 봐래 손으로.
So then the way of the Bodhisattva is the charya of the Bodhisattvas, the behavior, the conduct of the heirs to the Buddha. It is of all charya, of all forms of behavior, the very best, the purest, and in these trainings, we endeavor to participate. And so this is the moment, then the present moment, as we take up the present text, the way of the Bodhisattva, we can recognize in this moment the most extraordinary circumstance to be enthralled in the occasion and the opportunity presented to us now.
yes, and they love it. Joba de la young, and Joba de la Randung to the Lavia and Shending to the Lavia New York. In Naneta, Randung to the Joba de Lavia di Paka, Shen to the Shen to Mel Teva, the Shen to Mel Quebec. And a tablet Lavia, to Chen Deba, Shung de Deba Shungse. And it did a Lavia de Yang, and the Lavia de Yang, and it Shendu. To Lavia. We are
Of modes of conduct, there are those that are self-interested and those that are interested in the welfare of others. Of these, the self-invested actions must be dispensed with and brought to an end, and interest in the well-being of others further developed. The well-being of others, their purpose is to find contentment and to avoid dissatisfaction. The present text is concerned with just this, and so too are our trainings, the trainings to prioritize the well-being of others.
동해대 태워도 대화 톱에 시도를 높은 제바이나 랑라 대화 톱이 여봐. 시엔라 대화 톱이 여봐. 랑라 대화 톱이 여봐. 근데 인디 라비아 지들라 또 신들을 놓고 계세디 아니 아들 랑기 대화 대화 동해 미대바 나지 시엔 담제 대화 대화 동해 미대바 충분히 빼당 체냐 아니 그때서 라보고 여래서
Now, if we invest ourselves entirely in our own well-being, we will be frustrated at every turn and find no contentment. Whereas when we invest ourselves in the well-being of others, so too will we find that we become happy and contented. And so this is the reason that we commit ourselves to the well-being of others, because in this way too, we find our contentment. And we wish to avoid suffering and to find satisfaction and have this in common with all others. And this too is our rationale.
Yeah, that's in the love of the Randu, the Shendini, that the Laga Yoba Nashi. 아니 라베 제부들라양 아니 내가 비고바다 타두고 고바 니여레스 디나네 내가 비고바디 아니 삼탄교 말했다 타두고 고바드라 삼탄오레스
And likewise, in these behaviors or activities for the well-being of ourselves and for others, they lead to temporary satisfactions and ultimate satisfaction. Now we can leave aside the temporary results and focus our attention on the ultimate result.
Oh yeah, that 내가 비고바 카리어스 내가 마도 대화 토고다 마도 단다 말한도 그 대화 생애들 당분 월처버지 아니 대화 생애들 가는 연구 유버 유들을 라베 니제 난 내가 그 대화 때 가서 가르 되어서나 내가 아니 게 손도 마게바 뭔도 함이 고반 토바 제디 내가 비고바 준주를 라베 내가 비고바 차대요 그래서
Now if we did address ourselves to the temporary results, they are contentment and well-being, and so we familiarize ourselves with the forms of contentment and well-being that are temporary only and their causes. And those results are avoidance of the misfortunes of the lower realms and the securing of the good fortune of birth into the human realm and the heavenly realm. These are the temporary goals, the temporary results.
Oh yeah, that 준주를 라베게 미유 타도게 가래스나 아니 신심제 탐제 대화로 거베 칠투 아니 라니디 토베 대화로 거투에 누가 구유바 이 누바도 덴베 치도라 라니 산지지 고바스게 토베아티 아니 토베 타도데레 손
Now, in the way of the Bodhisattva, the primary objective, the ultimate objective, is to establish all other sentient beings in the lasting contentment of Buddhahood itself. And in order to be able to accomplish this, to achieve enlightenment oneself.
Oh, yes, they do that. Hadugani, that have Hadu Gudele, Mija Kale, Kusum. 추구 아니 내고 이샤 추구다 누구스니어레스 라데고 전도 토베가 다도 꾸들 추구 신대고 치도 토베 다도 토베 꾸들 신대고 꾸들 수구스 어디들라 그래서
Now these results are two Buddha bodies, the Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya. The Rupakaya is the consummation of the well-being of others. The Dharmakaya is the consummation of one's own ends.
Oh yeah, that is that 타도 탑제 꾸디 나도 지난 꾸들이야 꾸 랑도 지난 꾸 차단들 리미다다 꾸니 샤나야 지기요 그냥 꾸 숨샤워야 되네 요라서 숨샤도 담아 랑도 꾸들 추고 찍샤 아니 신도 주고 될 신도 수고들 로고다 쿠부스 니샤기요레스.
When describing the ultimate result, it may be described in terms of two kayas, and that is appropriate. So too is a description of three kayas. And when we describe them as three, they are the consummation of one's own welfare in the Dharmakaya, one, and then two further bodies that are the Sambhogakaya and the Supreme Nirmanakaya.
Oh yes, that was Subutilla, Sushi Lungus, Hagi Subut number 10 Tembegi Sanji Kutela Lungus. And Migi Kugi Migi Kui number 10 and Chimbe Kutela and Cho Tugula Resonance.
So we have then when the aspect shown by the Buddha is a heavenly body, the body of a deity, then this is the Sambhogakaya. When the aspect shown is a human form, then it is the Supreme Nirmanakaya form.
Oh yeah, that the object that never will go but the Chadayores. That the Jagi, any good cover chidula, and that Caricores, not Tobjik, you Lamla Logores, Lamdena. Oh yeah, Lamdena Logo was it, and Lavia, and that Shidela, and that the chanju sem kunzo chanju sem da tandan chanju sem o tingi la la bu yo chaze chanju sem de cheba singi da o tingi re so
This then, or these then, are the objectives, that which is achieved, the temporary aims. To achieve these kaya then, one accumulates causes in the practice of the path. This is the truth of the path. And the truth of the path entails the development of the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, conventional bodhicitta, and ultimate bodhicitta. Both are meant in the title of the way of the Bodhisattva.
oh yeah da la ya lam de la ya de la tab da shera ni ko la bu yo res tab ko la da shera ko la ba ni bu yo res oh yeah che da zo shera ko la ya di ma ram to bi sa de gu nyu mo tang 이게 샤베 레디게 바 다야 제발 제발라 또 셔럽 탑라 또니 또 셔럽 라고 요레스 어디를 남창주고 센스 그래스 다디네 근데 탑 셔럽이 누버 첨부 용야가 누버 첨부 써야게 규진 차진디 아니 구도 자주 쓰면 라고 구도 자주 쓰면 말라나 나 자주 쓰면 누버 첨부 방제 타다 봉투 자기가 맞잖아 본이 탑시 니 대양 아니 네가 냠돌라 보고요 봐. 네가 냠돌라나 아니 방제지 못한다 세 두고요. 아니 내가 네가 말하나 야 못하다 세 두고면 뭐 어떻게 되기든 제발 요래 손.
In treading the path, two methods, the method aspect, the wisdom aspect, are to be employed together. The wisdom aspect of the path is the extirpation of the mental afflictions which cause karmas through training in wisdom, namely emptiness. This is ultimate bodhicitta. But for there to be force and intensity sufficient to accomplish what wisdom may accomplish, one must train too in conventional bodhicitta, that is the method. Without doing so, one will be unable to finally abandon the abandonments, that which is to be abandoned through wisdom. So both wisdom and method must be practiced together for the thorough extirpation of mental afflictions, for their final thorough removal.
다 근데 전주고 셈니라 로벌라 담볼 로벌 쳐발라 로들이 듬버버 쪼아버 어디 쪼바지 하고 경화야도 간다라 아니 전주 셈지 편시에 보고요 제가 편시에 배차네 아니 준주로 담보대 송고야레스 다 근데 전주고 셈디 깨버 쳐발라 거기 마이 깨라 깨버 쳐발라 안 담보 개인 거기 이거 장화당 튀진 초사바스니 두니야레스 디니 창고고요레스 제가 디니 창고고요바 인도 아니 예진 디버 장ዋ생이디 루니바는 시기요레스 나타나 튠진 초소바디 또 루스바는 시행고요레스
For any headway to be made in the development of the mind of enlightenment, one must first have an enthusiasm and appreciation for the mind of enlightenment. So then, the way of the Bodhisattva in its first chapter describes the benefits of bodhicitta. Now, in order to develop the mind of enlightenment, that which hinders its development must be eliminated, and that which supports its development must be accumulated and brought together. So then, the second chapter, addressing itself to that which hinders the development of the mind of enlightenment, confession. And now we turn our attention to the third chapter, concerned with the accumulation and bringing together of supportive conditions for the development of the mind of enlightenment.
간데샤 보고 유명 디버 샤당다 디버 아니 친주 디버 양조 사도 마지야 합시 루던다나 님부터 없이 거기 셔버 루니바 셔 차라세 다 단다 루스베 가도라 다 계진 예진 세상에다 튕긴 위에 되라 아니 subject 가서 모두 시에 되라 subject 숨을 제수이랑 제가 직접 아니 제수이랑 제가 되라 양 subject 되라 아니 리버도 숨이요 이게 사사 다 되네 다 최주 콜로고 꾸와서인데 어디 시에서다 삼을래 돼요 그래서
In the second chapter, 4 antidote powers are described for the removal and elimination of negativities. The means for applying these antidote powers is presented in this chapter. A means that prevents negativities from arising again. We have concluded this chapter. Now in the third chapter, with the removal of hindrances to the development of the mind of enlightenment, we turn our attention to supportive conditions, achieving the supportive conditions for the development of the mind of enlightenment. And this involves rejoicing. Rejoicing itself had 3 subsections. These we have concluded. Now we arrive at the verses describing the request for the turning of the wheel of the Dharma.
다음으로 제수 이란 제도 빼내다 다른 말은 수수 다단한 말은 주줄라고 열에 아니 러비하게 튀게 차단 상대 열에 말한대로 튀게 자야 제도라 튀게 당보도 가르쳐서 이란 제와 당보도 가르쳤나 제수 이란 제 당보도 모두 함이고 사람이 고만 마톱나 아니 장주쌤 불에 계약에 튀게 마상와래 사람이 고만 토바 인상 아니 장주쌤랑 자야기 튕기 당보도 상을 했어. 제단 때는 제수이랑 지고를 해서 봤어. 근데 밀룰레는 장주쌤이 튕기 러비하게 치돌라 아니 그 저라도 남지기 싫어도 때뭐 미루도 그래서 리토베 마세 아니 최 달색을 농바다 채 아니 최 튕기 얘한테 채 어디를 튕기 상유가 있나 아니 제수이랑 지고를 해서 봤어.
Now regarding rejoicing, as we presently are studying the way of the Boddhisattva, this indicates that for us, the conditions for developing the mind of enlightenment are overwhelmingly present. They are present, for we have, in our human rebirth, achieved the great fortune known to heavenly beings and human beings. Lacking this fortune, the development of the mind of enlightenment is all but impossible. But we have these conditions present for us now, and this is our cause for rejoicing. It is in the human biological endowment, the discriminating wisdom innate to us that sets it apart. But not only this, we have found ourselves in a region where the Buddha Dharma is present, has spread, and there are spiritual mentors present as well. And in these facts too, we rejoice.
Oh yeah, that in any jesu yeran niba jesu yeran niba chewa 다른 나라도 사제는 마서 랩사데 다 뒤에 차단 랩사 다 랩사는 양조 내단 두루 반도야 상호 따야 고급 차단 요래서 나도 한단 나라도 다 고액 내게 나는 도쇼 미글루 톱대요래 다 니주 다다 비즈딜 치담 마야고 마중이나 너는 내단 두루 신경서 마 깨워도 그래 중앙이나 앞에 경침보라 살아와 들리만 사마도야 야 근데 단도야 코알에 팔에 탑 차단 지역이 등진 유바 차단 유바 아니 이들 다야 탑을 러베 유바 탑에 탑이 땡 차단 탑되어 당부디 니바들 탑에 러베 탑 차단 수술 나보라 유바 다 수술을 한게 말없는 마도 차단 등지 차단 수술을 유바 인디 아니 드링베 고급 상보디 아니 베란기다 고액이 균 에도 대화 탐지 토바들 동해 탐지 바 세트에 고급 개발자들이 토비 유배 딜라는 제수이랑 식으로 해서
The second cause for rejoicing is the situation in which we find ourselves as human beings a situation that allows us to further improve our fortunes. Without such conditions, without this present fortune, we would not be in the position to avoid future misfortune in lower realms. But we are able at present to observe the disadvantages of cyclic existence and endeavor to liberate ourselves from the bondage of samsara. The conditions supportive for this outlook are present for us. A basis for this approach is present to us. We have in our hand now all that is necessary to extricate ourselves from the mire of disadvantages that is cyclic existence and achieve every last contentment that will be lasting and finally bring an end to all discontents.
어디서 제품이나 숨바들 제수이나 숨바들 다 한게 빼 무슨 소바 내 탐제 토비하기 귤러 러비아 앞에 산지지 고방 생애들 러비아기 아니 당부대 땡 자산 수술을 열어서 이번에 러비아기 탑 장주선 군도 장주선 다 이시에 뭐 어디니가 하나도 러비아기 중진 창열 러비아기 로드 비열 아니 러비아기 러로 뉴열 최대마 보여요. 차상 열어. 내가 근데 이게 다 랑이 말로도 마도 차상 로투야 이거 봐. 로비아게 뒤주 이거 봐. 차진 이거 봐. 차상 이거 봐. 차돼요. 저는 되게 안 될어 제수이란 식으로 해서
And third cause for rejoicing, greatest cause of all, the cause for rejoicing, that is the very cause for the eventual accomplishment of all good qualities, the coming to possession of all good qualities in the state of complete and perfect enlightenment. The basis for just this accomplishment, too, is present for us now. And furthermore, the very method and means, that is, the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, too, is available to us. The Mahayana text describing the mind of enlightenment, colleagues invested in the mind of enlightenment, a teacher giving an exposition of the mind of enlightenment. With all of that, it is only a failure to implement the very training, a failure to utilize this time and support that will frustrate us. Otherwise, all that is necessary is present. And in these conditions too, this situation too, we rejoice.
Oh yeah, that's what the Jesus Iran de la Yang, Gula Jesus Iran, the Jebula Jesus Iran, E. Chituna, Yakoyaras. The Gula Jesus Iran, the Chanju sent me the Labia to the Jesus Iran. Jebul's that Jebu. Nashin Semje, Tamje, and Sanje, Salo, Gobalo, Tobo, Gobalo, Goya to the Sanje, Gobo, Toba, Chiki, Same, Jebula. And then Jesus Iran, or the day, Chever Tess, your response.
Oh, 그래서 정주
귤을 제수이라고나
알아.
제불을 제수이라고 귤을 제수이라고 유sem이를 러비아치 러비아기 말아서 그거 타바다 유sem이를 러비아 유바인데 귤을 제수이라고 해요. 그 제부세도 산지지 고방 토벌 제발 배 토베 귤배 산지 고방 토브나 같이 말은 배 산지 심지 탐지기 튼 동행을 껴배치도 산지 고방 토벌 제가 인사에 셈벌 제수이라고 해요. 어디 제불을 제수이라고
알지잖아. 삼바 때니버디 삼바라와. 내가 뭐디 탑디
탑디 유sem이를 러버 한번 귤을 러버지 이번에 제불을 러버서는
The third cause for rejoicing may be approached in rejoicing the cause and the result. If one approaches this third rejoicing through cause and result, that is constructive. For the cause that one may rejoice in is the very method, that is the two forms of bodhicitta, conventional and ultimate bodhicitta. These are the cause. Now the result is the attitude itself, that is a commitment to personally achieving Buddhahood in order to establish all sentient beings in the state of Buddhahood. And this is an attitude and an intention. It is the result. And one may rejoice in the cause, the two forms of bodhicitta, and then the attitude itself, the result.
예, 다들 가진 여자 몸만 지단 더 살다 양조 결실로 채워래. 다들네 드린 다 제수이랑 차네 다디가 가르고도 취지 콜로고 콜로 꿀와 생각이다. 좀 중국고 구가 생각이 sabjectina 다 제시게 보여. 레송으로지.
Now, that was a bit of review, as we had already covered that material. Now, with rejoicing behind us here, we turn our attention to requesting the turning of the wheel of Dharma.
야, 나 취지 콜로고 구가 뭐 알레 산제게 송대로 취지 콜로 민스타로 와서 콜로 취지 콜로고 민다고 인생 콜로 세고겠다 인생도 가르스나 아니 콜로 되게 지당도 다 진다 콜로다 다지 마무시 뭐래 콜로 교육 개보세야다 아니 지신대 콜로 세야다 다 나이는 것도 배 모터들 남도 강가다 콜로 제로 제단 대주 강가라 다 콜로스도 콜로고 자와지 지기요 자와들 자와니요스 자와지 가르스나 콜로들 쉬엔진 아니 룸바 지금 유인 로토고 요바이자 콜로스 명지 따기도 왔어 니버들 콜로들 때는 자와 랑이 되베 자와 두투바 미데베 자와 빵투바 될래 요바이자 콜로 자와니 지기요바이자 콜로스라기도 왔어 어디나시 하나도 산제게 송배 최지들은 최주 콜로스 민이 따기 어르시다 콜라야 자와니디 요래 송시
The turning of the wheel of Dharma uses the phrase, the wheel of Dharma. Why is the Buddha Vachana known as the wheel of Dharma? There are all sorts of wheels. There's a wheel of a chariot. We also hear of the Chakravartin king, the wheel-turning monarch, and of all the many sorts of wheels on trains and cars and the rest. And these illustrate the two uses of the wheel in this context. The first is, with wheels, there is vehicular movement, and you can ride along from place to place, right? That's the one. And then the other is, through this wheel, as it turns, that which is to be abandoned is dispensed with, and that which is to be achieved is brought. And so, the wheel of Dharma gains this name in this way.
다 이 콜로그 다와데는 최 단계의 숨기려면 콜로그다 민다는 그 자와 가르치기로 했어. 저한테기로 왔어. 다 대수나마 산제의 숨들 때네 아니 비지줄라. 산제 니유인데 또배 유인데 롱게 유인데 되게 아니 로메줄 때버지. 로만 줄은 단도 수수 마주고 수수 개개인 버지 개개인은 수수를 버지 줄에 때버지 또 지금 뭐네 지금 찍어봐 표 아니 뭐 이런 것들을 더 두고 이거이다 나 콜로다 민다 찍든지 찍더래서.
So the Buddha Vachana has earned this name of the wheel of Dharma, and it follows a question as to how there is a movement then. The Buddha Vachana is a movement through the discipleship. In subsequent disciples of the Buddha, the scriptural wisdom and the realizational wisdom of the Buddha Vachana develops. And this, the scriptural Dharma and the realizational Dharma, continues in a movement of transmission from mind to mind of disciples. And as this occurs, it occurs as the motion of a wheel.
뭐였다? 그래도 샤워는 좀 내대 고랑이 반복 코로나대 상보라. 대시 주고고 코로나대 상보기 고랑이 수수로 쳐도 제가 되자. 아니 그래. 아니 나 연대가 긴들다. 나한테 마세네. 아니 인도지 근두스 짠네 아니 네 자가 벨루스 내는데 벨루스 벨루도 조거들 갈래지나 동바 칠로 파표에 자날 같이 있다 아주 두신 추유 콜로데 가사가 쳐 아니 이거 추유 콜로라 때네 안 대다지로 람기 또고 줄게 롱기 또고 줄게 또고 줄게 된대치는 하다 말한들었다 추 냠들는 또고게 여바다 냠들이랑 여바 되즈가가 아니 추유 콜로라 때네 좋아해서
So the Boddhisattva began as the Buddha taught the Dharma to the 5 close disciples, taught the Buddha Dharma, the 4 truths of the nobles. And then each of these 5 first disciples brought the Boddhisattva to their own disciple. And then the Shravaka Sangha emerged. And from the Shravaka Sangha, the tradition of the Pandits in India. And then from India, the Buddha Dharma and the Buddha Vachana spread to China and then across the globe, as it is now everywhere and has arrived to us too, so that we may too practice the path that develops realization in the mind. And so, turning in this way, the wheel of the Dharma has arrived to us to be adopted.
오야, 오늘 나도 추주 폴로 코러스. 오늘 코랑 카도 주시 잡아이나 좀 된데게 당고 추주 폴로 코러스. 나 코러스나 아니 와르나스가 코러스. 아니 코러스 스토리에서는 코로마데 상보를 코러스. 간데스 코러스는 좀 된데게 추송와라 때네 아니 코로마데 상보고 줄라 덴바통아 돈이 또 가래 덴바통아데스. 세상다 단다 도도 가래 돈이 또 별로 줄라 깨바당 아니 그 줄라 추지 콜로 추 콜로 저거로 또 줄라 깨바래 세신이 가래 지난도 나한테 레슨.
Now, to give the most precise definition of the turning of the wheel of the Dharma, to describe it precisely, it first turned in Varanasi. It turned in the minds of the 5 close disciples. The turning was the seeing of the truth of the Dharma, emptiness, occurring in the minds of the 5 disciples. And that very turning and the seeing of emptiness was the turning of the wheel, and thus the description, the wheel of Dharma.
오야, 나 된다 도도도 당도 유지 최고로서 최지 콜로서 뭐네 딱 간데 최고 가사데 줄라 최지 콜로 간다데 최지 콜로 거는 최지 또밖에 유명했다 톨럼 당고 터구나 톨럼 거기 터구나 거기라 최군조 개발에 사와 최군조 개발 가사데 줄라 돈이 무슨 또 톨럼 더그와 아니 가르자래 가사데 최군조 또밖에 줄래 강사한테 가르쳐래 개두군조잘 박바잘 아니 사토 아주 지빈을 대봤습니다. 뭐 되게 잘 이해해서
To put it with concision, the wheel of Dharma is the event of realization in the mind. The specific realization is the realization involved in mounting the path of seeing with direct insight into emptiness, at which moment the Dharma jewel becomes present, and the person becomes member of the Sangha. And the Sangha is the Arya Sangha, and the individual has gained the grounds. And the individual has become a transmundane person.
오야, 나 제스도 가르고 아주 가슴이 거는 맞추죠네 이제는 jamdo shebare yola to jamdo she jamdo wala jamdo tele match ni she yo jamdo tele jidan mazu jasu to jamdo jik ya mazu digwa sha ga jamdo jik she yo ani ye ga chuju go jik she yo ya da dizu kanga ma tri yo na dong de ma kwa ji ji tri yo yi na da che kunjo one de kare mazu jap one de kare che kunjo de da one che kunjo de kare na ani thongam da Bolam Nibudi, 내 최고도 뭐네게 레스 어디도 못 수. 중도 거리 야마 뒤에 아니 이게 뭐시 뭐 거래서
Describing the Dharma, we are describing the refuge. The refuge is presented in sequence often. First, the refuge as the refuge itself. Second, the refuge as basis for confession. And then perhaps the refuge in the context of another teaching. It is when these come together and the Dharma that is the true refuge, the Dharma itself of the three jewels, the Dharma itself being the true refuge. It is the true refuge when the path of seeing has been achieved and onwards during the path of meditation. This is when the Dharma is truly the protector and refuge.
다 디네마 람마 겹시 잡아이나 다 졸음 졸음 거들라 돈이 무슨도 또그 말했대 돈이 근지투지 또배고 또고서 돈이 근지투지 또고와 대산 제주강가 최군조 민기 따봐래 최군조 오네디 말했어 어떻게 되지라 최군조 따봐래 이나양 뒤콜라 조선 곳을 제발라 때네 너랑 그걸 뭐 시와다 최군조 귤을 깨버 쳐야 치도 귤을 라비아 치도라 어떻게 내버터 라고래서
And then if we backpedal the wheel backwards through the path of preparation and back into the path of accumulation, during these two paths, emptiness has yet to be discovered and seen. The understanding of emptiness is conceptual. It is an understanding based upon conventional designations. The Dharma is at this time conventional designation, but through conventional designations, study, contemplation, and the beginnings of meditation are possible. And so these conventional designations, the Dharma in this form is necessary.
Oh, yeah. That's your kunjo when it sumudane to the chokunjo. Chokunjo, the one chokunjo, the column years that under the Hiyatar was. Now, not column need chokunjo in Begita, you call love Pendo, Carriores, not a column, chokunjo, the killer Kiasona, and a Manzugut and the Louis Sajeg, Ludi, and Pat Holland Saming, which had was Sajeg, Ludi, more Julie. Sameg Bichado. That is about the domain Savan, domains for tree chevron, Papam Utah house. There's not that much domain the trade, domain the trade. They all mother domain singing that you are never voyage.
Of these, the three refuges, the Buddha Dharma, the Dharma itself is the principal refuge, especially upon the path of meditation. It is emptiness and the Dharma developed in the mind as realization that transforms the contaminated aggregates that must be discarded into the non-contaminated aggregates wherein there is no suffering. Suffering has been attenuated to the point where it is now abandoned. One is now separate of the suffering. And the door to suffering, any more suffering, has been closed.
Oh, yeah, that is and the Karicharna midi Subudida, they may midi Karicharna, Kindu Kunjo Chare. Koyu send the Karicharna, Chu Kunjo Chare. Also, that is Chadu Zamba, and a cheek to Meganga, Tresare. That in a Tobotorsi column to Lilum Totona, and it's Sangi Chat, also, Sangi Kunjos and Chapters.
The person in their body, they are the Sangha. The person in their mind, they are the Dharma. And in this way, this person has separated themselves from all external suffering. And it remains for them to complete the path of meditation and finally enter the state of no more training, the state of Buddha.
Oh, yes, I would just soon say that. To getting order to seminar, the Kunjo Chang, Kunjo Sum, the leaders in the Toma, and Kunjo Sum Pajing motion, but Chagre.
Now, when one reflects on the three jewels in this way, and that reflection is accompanied by a feeling and an idea, a conception of the three jewels in this form described here, one will be familiar then with the qualities of the three jewels.
Oh, yeah, that to you also combat the Tawa Tung, the Lishidamba, Tawa she Sawayina, and she sound like so much do not feel like induced that house, induce Ming tags. For that induce Ming tag house on that get on with combat topic, and say chicken up for get on like it, Hansala, or to you to the lesson.
Now we see monasteries and the ordained in the monasteries, where there are four ordained together, they make a Sangha. And we call them by this name, the Sangha, four or more there. Where there is a sole bhikshu, just the ordained person, they may be called a bhikshu or a person.
What is it? Says that the Karsana can do Mingi Tapateras, Mingo Kunjoti, Lam Tony Musto, Lam Julica to us. That under Tawala can do that Tawala can use Mingi Mingi Tapare, and call it can do Shidachik Tobak, Tawala can use Mingi Tayo, Mingi Tavana, she call it Ningur Cheva in a young, can do Ningur Cheva, Purdy Tobu, says not call it can use Mingi Tayo restaurant.
So a name, the Sangha, is given to four ordained together, while the Dharma, as described, is the Dharma of realizing emptiness and the achievement of the path of seeing. This, the conventional naming of individuals, monks, and when they're together in four or more, a Sangha, this is the naming, while the Dharma is as described before.
Oh, yes, that because it was that in a church follow that church follows the motions of that church follow cool start Sanjay. The leg and then the Sanjay Punjo Delan, Chogo Kolo Nam Chin. Yeah, that was.
Okay, so with that, then the Dharma, as the Dharma is, we've described then, and now the request to turn that Dharma wheel is a request made to the Buddha, who is endowed with all these qualities we have described.
Oh, yeah, that is the Juju situation, that Juju city, and the cousin name as that did a Sonum Puni, Sanjela, Hamilton, so and me, Semje Dumi, Mutomla, Chuji German, Bardu Sul, so that you got the reason.
Now the verse request for the turning of the wheel of Dharma is found on page 47, verse 4. Their enlightened attitude, an ocean of great good that seeks to place all beings in a state of bliss. Verse 5. And so I join my hands and pray, the Buddhas who reside in every quarter, kindle now the Dharma's light for those who grope, bewildered in the dark of pain.
Yes. Oh, yes, that, and the most Sanjay Jumde, another Jumba was to the chamber, Sanjay Jumde, the Saja Tuba. 어딜러 빼자는 송요레스 대다다 상계 점된 대기하니 가르는 코란다 셈쟁이 된도 상계버려 상계고에 대한 유지 셈쟁이 된 제비 치도 상계버려 유지 셈쟁이 된 제벌라양 추지 콜로 마고르와 아니 셈쟁이 된 탁지 버치 두야가 탑 요말에 매버 이나양 상계 차는 배 두다 유기를 아니 최 마송 버지니 슈바르 아니 타마츠 아니 타마들 가르치랬으나 아니 상박에 취주 콜로콜로식 상박호랑을 라벌라 세지 콜로 지동이로 와 템바도 대표 아니 야징게 동가리 예수표 동가리 얘기지 표 아니 지렌지 감마다 배 셈제기 아니 줄메기 추고 거로는 소마다 받을라 아니 상게 좀 되게 취고 요말 아니 소았답네 아니 신경 취고 와서
거든 아니 야진이 초등직
와 얘기지
나도
얘기
얘기요 맞아
아니 장박이 고랑 잘 요디 색 콜로 스톤저로 어디 표현 저거 고로 저거 그 때는 표를 해서
yeah the verse requesting for the wheel of dharma to be turned takes its metaphorical point of departure from the events in the time of the Buddha Shakyamuni, when the Buddha achieved his enlightenment for the well-being of sentient beings. It was for them that he did so. If he hadn't then gone on to turn the wheel of Dharma, he would not have made available to them the means for their enlightenment. Nevertheless, for 7 weeks, he remained silent and did not teach. And what happened at the end of that 7 weeks? But that Brahma came and made his own request to the Buddha, that the Buddha teach, and presented at the same time 1,000-spoked wheel of gold to the Buddha Shakyamuni. And he was accompanied by Indra, who presented a white conch swirling rightward.
Oh yeah, 딱 한다 딱 이렇게 가르쳐 되지 딱 천비어 가르쳐서나 딱 가르치는 취업 마송하래 아니 제가 딱 근데 취업 통화라 아니 딱 자기로 상고에 뒤 방법이 가르치나 로마기 최고 코로나 또 왔다고 그랬어 최고 코로나 또 맞았나 마스나 아니 죄송나 되게 말해서 최고로 나왔으면 좋았다 아니 최송하고 이나양 아니 최송에 네 이게 되면 딱 와서 어디든지 아니 간다 규천 망고지 천 아니 전에 최고 콜로콜 보고 열에서 어디 처음에 지도라 아니 뭐 저거 규르고 저걸 마고 규르고 싶고 이제 되지 해서
What did the Buddha's silence convey? It conveyed necessary conditions for the turning of the wheel of Dharma, namely a request for that turning to occur before the wheel should turn. A request must be made before it is appropriate for there to be a turning of the wheel of Dharma. Also, the silence conveyed that the teacher too would use time to examine the vessel, the disciple who would listen, to see that the disciple will be receptive. Thus, the Buddha was silent in order to convey these meanings as well.
Oh yeah, that's and they do. I mean, choose bogo ina yang. I mean, do you come the nova? I mean, Suzuki, but the forget choose do that. Some of the seed and choose we are as and choose other choose soon said it. Azoka, Jidengi, another chick, forget Jidengi Tulamdo, and it's a lobby. Again, if I could lover to take some time, your mares, choose Lamata, Loma Singidi. 아니 제가 지단데 로마기 이나양 라마마덴 볼라야 Loma ten Weber, Yuju Sangidim the Dayada. Lame in Naya, Loma Chu Sunga, Chu Sungne, and Guba Yonsere Yonsamare, who Pensare Pensamare, what the gates by Simjuchen and Chu Sung will be arrested. That Chu Sung said, and Dandadi, and Manado Taku to their Chidola, and Chu Sung will be arrested. And it teach it that other Ganado Bagay, Toma Meva and Sabe, Lady Mango Toma, the Zuka Taba Chebata. And it don't make you look what you like, yeah, have to get Sangi the Midday, the Mango, and it's your song we are race. What is
From the vantage of the teacher, the guru, the disciples will have many attitudes and various temperaments. And there will be more or less conducive moments for teaching the Dharma. And the guru sees this and considers this. The relationship between the teacher and the student, the guru and the disciple, is not the ordinary relationship between the teacher and the students in an ordinary school. The connection and relationship between guru and disciple is different. The student should first too consider the qualities of the guru, and the guru too must look into the receptivity of the potential disciple. So there's much involved in the relationship that comes before the teaching begins, and all of this is suitable to a goal that is so significant as the practice for achievement of the ultimate goal, which is the purpose of the Buddha Dharma. And so then a person has, since beginningless time, accumulated non-virtues. And despite that, the project is to develop in the mind realization and to utilize means for the development of realization. And in consideration of this, pause is taken.
Oh, yes, Lama the Lamegi. And Lamegi to be Twinzita, Lomegi, Tabala Tene, and then Lomegula, that church you call corner. And then Loma Ball to what they did. They did the any Lama the Lomeg Chivo, Mu, and it's that the Lama singing and other Dawachi, you know, Dan or the Lochi, Dan or the Leg Samatana, and the Lama the Loma get them Chagi or Lama singing the Tambo Sendu, and then forget Changun Ten Chanju Matojiba. On this Europe and the Dagin Chanju Sanjay Matoji Battle and the bed, thinking somebody, they take a Kulunji for the Lomen in a young, they did you tank over Lame in a young Koitula, Mambo, the church Polo Cone, and Sanjay Komatova Chigi, and the Kulu, the Legicone, and the day Parde and Lama, the Loma, she careful year. And the Loma in a Lamegi Sunga, church to get up a Sanjay Moki. Kule Sanjay Moji to Shisha, Sundela, Sanjay Moji Sunga to Shisha, Puga, Sanjay Moji to Shisha, the legend bed. And then Lama the Loma the Tanzi Jango, or the legend and the Cheni Shichiku, your response.
The guru-disciple relationship is the relationship that pertains in all that is involved until the final liberation of the disciple from cyclic existence. It is not a relationship that will conclude after 2 months or 2 years. It isn't a short-term practice, the reliance upon the guru. It is a relationship that remains up until finally complete and perfect enlightenment is achieved. And so the student is, as they recite their own verses, committing themselves in their reliance upon the spiritual mentor, to the spiritual mentor, committing themselves to that spiritual mentor until I myself achieve enlightenment, they say. And from the guru is invested in teaching the disciple so that I myself achieve liberation and enlightenment. This the guru says. And so these are the conceptions and the ideas of the relationship involved in the guru-disciple relationship. The disciple views the guru in their person as the very essence of the Buddha, in their speech as uttering the very Buddha Vajana, and in their mind as having the very mind of the Buddha. And in this way, then, there is the samaya between the guru and the disciple.
Oh, you do want to check the shame and a check Karishiki and a cheating more Mashiko, Laman Namda Shakers. Laman Namda Shakers, the Laman Namda Share D, and it's so Karesana. And Tangarando forget Duji Jula, and it should you call Korwa Yina, and you call it Mu, choose you call Korwa, Mu to set it to Samare, call a church shape, Pemba to top set it to Samare. Oh, that indeed. Did forget Lama Tabachi, but Siji around Tobaki, Loma in around Loma Taji to Tabachi to it. Lama in a Loma Street for the Tarsimbo Court Tuya. Oh, today young Yagasito, Lama Namda Shagi or this. And then Lama Namda Tia, and then Lama to say one at Taneta, the Chiki Togo Thompson to Luton, Rang Ducale, Zemba Meba. O the college of Lama the Lolo with Temdegi Wongi and Sechila San Jeva, and the Lama the Lama Jesus more said daughter. And the college church polo corner, the quarter is said to look on order, the date on the young we are rescued.
Purity in the conception of the guru-disciple relationship is especially important. That the guru is invested in instructing the disciple so that the disciple achieves their ends, and that the disciple views the guru with single-pointed faith and pure perception of their true value. The guru then invests themselves in the disciple, not for any reward in room, board, or fame, or anything of the like, but in order to make true and firm and auspicious connection between himself, herself, and the guru. This is the pure conception of the samaya.
Oh, yeah, that Kanda Toto, Tangaranzo, Chidin, David, Yundin, Mangu Shuji, or that Digidi, Rangula Kever Chevala, Lama Matema, Kiri Yama, what 60. Yes, I Pengaranzo Yundin, some Jimmy Chapel, Yundin said, Chidin, David, Yundin said, Yundin, some Jig, Tunchiel, but Tayaba check, Yundin Mangu, Dinzukanga, Lama, Yundin Matemba, you dig around Togu. Sedan dene togu meba yindu ani lama ten kechimbu yimba chikse e kana lama matena yinde diga tanga gule chigi meba niche ani o tede yindu zamata mazo kyamdu shidu zamba ambo gote lama la kerfu che ambo tela kunjo sumna kerfu mando kola lama la kerfu che si sha ko ete goba tede chila tane lama si kyamdu chigi yore sumo.
We know of transmundane qualities, supermundane qualities, qualities that are beyond the mundane, realizations that are realizations of that which moves beyond the mundane. They are unknown without reliance upon the guru. All of the innumerable qualities we speak of, all of the supermundane qualities we know of, all of the activities that actually bring about the well-being of others, these sorts of extraordinary qualities are impossible without relying upon the guru. Without relying upon the guru, realization cannot arise in the mind. So there is a reason why, first, before even going for refuge to the three jewels, one first goes to refuge to the guru.
Oh, the Rama Mena, Punjo, in their Hana, not Jutu Mare, Ram Punjo, in their Hana Chubala, 라면 주디 주고요. 제가 이제 아니 라마 때문에 개침 보이보다 주디 주다 라면 강한 뜻이 되게 요래스 어디지 아니 다들 다들 뭐 세기 뜻이 되게 이해하잖아.
The qualities of the three jewels will never find purchase in your mind without first stemming from the Guru. And so it is important in the way of the Bodhisattva, in the great treatise on the stages of the mind, great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. This very point is emphasized in both of these texts. Okay, now we will move on into a description of the meaning of the verse itself here.
Oh yeah, that is so the chono kunji sanje ras temujane sowa ni sta tanda chotuna shubeta sanje kunjo tanga ta ye de da tembe sanje kunjo singe da cho chu dusun kaundu shu yuwa ina de tamjela 아니 저거 그거 나왔지 보다 그래서 왔다 왔다 또 왔다 아니 가르쳐 그러잖아 루이지 그바체네 태모자 루이지 그베 태모자 나지 그베 셈 당와 대박 아니 망아마다 예지 그베 아니 루 당와 대박지 아니 나 그베 쏘아 대박 어디 제고를 해서 세상군이 되는
And so I join my hands and pray, the Buddhas who reside in every quarter. And so I join my hands and pray, the Buddhas who reside in every quarter. The Buddhas are the Buddhas endowed with all their extraordinary qualities. In every quarter, in the 10 directions of the 3 times, all these Buddhas with their extraordinary qualities, one makes their request to just these Buddhas, and the expression is a physical expression conveyed through the hands pressed together. It is a mental expression, the expression being clarity of faith. It is a verbal expression being the fervent praise or plea here.
다 디네다 소 가르쳐 왔다고 그래나 아니 지치만이 그래 샘제 동에 뮤돔라 최지점에 버드를 다 샘제 담제 동에 제부 동에 와요 말에 멤버 포마 대다라 아니 뭐주 멤버 세제 동에 대다 답을 제베 아니 최지 폴로다 또 뭐니게 담비게 되마 저면 바로나 이거 니마샤라는 세부지는 A
plea for what? A petition for what? To kindle now the Dharma's light for those who grope bewildered in the dark of pain. It is a petition for sentient beings who experience unwanted suffering caused by their ignorance. It is a petition that ignorance which causes their pain may be removed as a lamp dispels darkness, as sunlight dispels darkness. The simile here likens the turning of the wheel of Dharma to the lighting of a lamp. As the lamp dispels darkness, the turning of the wheel of Dharma eradicates the mental afflictions that are cause for suffering, the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death.
냥엘레 미다오 소와다바 다 디기 싸워 가르스나 야와 냥엔 대셔라 해모자들 소와니 드로디 동바 메구지 개와 잠에 쉬고 소디 진주 냥엘레 미다오 소와다가 싸워 디레스
Next follows the request not to pass into nirvana on page 58. If there is a verse for the earnest plea not to pass into nirvana directed to the Guru and to the Buddhas, it is this, the sixth verse here. I join my hands, beseeching the enlightened ones who wish to pass into nirvana. Do not leave us wandering in blindness. Stay among us for unnumbered ages.
냥엘레 민다와 소와다와 냥엘레 민다와 그 냥엘레 동엘 아니 민다와스데 따고 냥엘레 다와스데 정말 동엘레 타르바스 냥엘레 민다와스데 지단가 냥엘레 다 미다싱에 치기 전다 가서 동엘레 타르바다 동엘레 마타르바스에 치기 시스토가 연구 열에서
Nirvana is suffering, liberation from suffering, extrication from suffering, either the extrication happening or it not. This is the meaning here.
세상다 양행생인데 사진 연행 부모들을 잘 사진 연행이 부모들 된대요나 양행을 맨다 사진 연행이 부모들 최소나 양행을 맞다 그때부터서 사진 연행이 부모들 된대요나 양행을 맨다시 사진 연행이 부모들 봐 돌소나 양행을 다왔어 어디 찍지나 영상 되지래서
To be extricated from nirvana, the nirvana of the contaminated aggregates, is the framework that emerges here as relevant, or in the foundation vehicle, they are very specific to say that where the physical aggregate of the contaminated aggregates is present, there, that person has yet to pass beyond suffering. When they are finally without the body of the contaminated aggregates, then they have passed beyond suffering into nirvana.
라마 통사제 양을 대사셔서 라마디 수르도 수분냠도 내가 가도 있는 아우담 양을 대미도 다다 쇼샤스로 그래서 그 양을 대마데 생기디 아니 팀에기 고랑 좀 냠nen지다는 책이 돈 연구여래서
Now in ordinary usage, until a person's physical body has parted ways with their life force, we say of them, they remain, they have not passed away. But then when the body and the life force are parted, then we say they have passed away. Now this is usage that follows from the use in the foundation vehicle.
also Sanjay Kolana Yangan Dado Medase Rashi Yamares Karsna Ko Amuni Dungi Major or Dungi for Pansarwa Yangan said Yangan Kora Yomar, Dungi Yomar, Yangan Yomar, Chetan Dimedu for Yangan Dama that exceeded the Rashi Yamares.
Now in the framework of the Mahayana, the explanation does not use the very etymology that the foundation vehicle uses. For in the Mahayana, a living person may well be parted from their suffering. And so beyond suffering having passed into nirvana, this may be conceivably a state of a living seeming person. And so the usage is different here.
다들 배주거든 당그랬으면 양날에 대비 수입된 바스. 뒤지기 된도 양날에 대비 수입된 바스는 배주 당그래서.
So in the Mahayana, the usage is instead to say the person illustrates passing beyond suffering. The person instructs in an appearance of passing into nirvana for the well-being and understanding of the disciple. Now, there's lots more to go into in an explanation here. So there's quite a bit remaining. I think if we use the time here for our Q&A, that might be useful. But if there are no questions, then I can go on into a bit more explanation of the meaning of the lines. So if you have any questions, bring them up and then things will be clarified.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then what? Well, it looks as though there are no questions. So we have a new student in attendance. Oh, and it also apparently you don't have any questions.
So if you don't
have any questions, then allow me to continue on with a bit more explanation. Excuse me for one more.
Oh, yeah, that is the young without sort of boss. Then young without sort of said that. Marandutas, that also change your Koran data. Yawan Yangi Deshela, about Yawan Yangi Deshela, Temuja de Soanis, and then draw Karsa. Draw Tombo Muguji, Jabba Tami Shubo Sulus, that's all the Shutaro. Oh, yeah, that is the Jawan Yang, they have a Sheba, so now Yang, they have a Gombashin, that Yang, that Sidan, Tanja, that look on the Karata, Semjig, 20. Ani, that Semjig, 20 chair, $20, and the Sanji Goba, Toba chair, Toba, Sanji 20 in a young, and in that, around the Sanji Yang, and the second, around the Sugu. 다 다다디로 따지단 추구라 아니 다 양을 대다 마대기 느끼지마다 추구들이 sem지게 산지게 제발의 규매 제바서 추구의 제발의 뒤를 맨다와 그 규체바 매바 이바다 지발에 이나양 아니 뒤다 뒤제게 산지 수수도 단데 수국은 남바때는 산지 수국 남바때는데 어디 아니 고랑 제바 탈심바디 아니 sem지게 다 수수고 뒤자 유저 제 살나 안에 수고 뽑아 이 중에서 되니 아니 거기다 양을 대고 출정부 여러 와 어째다 되게 이들 때마다 또 양을 믿다 와서 이디 샘쟁이 된도라니 배다 추구가 되는 양을 믿다 소화다 배다 아니 수고가 되는 양을 믿다 소화다 되게 때듯이 믿다도 쉐어 여러 소리
Okay, I join my hands beseeching the enlightened ones who wish to pass into nirvana. Do not leave us wandering in blindness, stay among us unnumbered ages. These are the verses found in the Boddhisattva, the way of the Bodhisattva. So I already recited this, haven't I? Now, I join my hands beseeching the enlightened ones. These enlightened ones, the persons who would pass beyond suffering, would pass into nirvana, do all that they do, engage in their activities as they do for the sake of sentient beings, just as they achieve the state of Buddhahood itself for the sake of sentient beings. Now the request not to pass into nirvana may be applied differently to the two kayas, the form kaya and the dharma kaya. Of the dharma kaya, mention of nirvana or not passing into nirvana is not as relevant for the activities or non-activities that are characteristic of this kaya are already and always uninterrupted. Now here the nirvana or not passing into nirvana applies particularly to the form kaya, the rupa kaya, which is the kaya deliberately designed for disciples to bring about the well-being of disciples. And when there is the apparent conclusion of the activities for their welfare, then in that conclusion, the person, the enlightened ones, will conclude activities in the nirvana they pass into. So then there are these two approaches then to this line having to do with the kaya.
양을 더 출된 모양이 고번 가르쳐주나 다 배산지 고반통 치미를 지체 고반토백에 산지도 양 아니 베데데다 군양을 대버들이 지부 유나 아니 만한도 탐해봐 다 치미 세 모두 마도니 되도 아니 예버도 다 치기요 배 치와도 베데 고알 끼기요 받데 되게 고알 껴게지 교시 이중기 삼박계와 교시계의 지도라 아니 양한들 주땡기고 땡고 고바들을 해서.
So then the reason for the petition made in this way is a reason designed not for those who have achieved the deathless Vidyadhara. It is for those who haven't yet found out those siddhi, those boons, And so the nirvana here is the nirvana that, when illustrated as a conclusion of activities, elicits that dissatisfaction and renunciation in the disciple that is so critical, a disappointment and a bereavement.
딱 한달 수고 고바트 수 뒤에 말 되는 말아서 밑함에 시원하시 되는 시달고 아니 저알네 되게 말다 있네 가르스는 수고기 고바트 수 축으로 수 뒤니 아니 고랑 뒤져야 왜 zam불이 네 그에 네 시엔다 zam불이 시엔다 아니야 뒤져 경화 답변도 안 들리게 됐어 감시엔 신다라 아니 순제가 된제 배치도 아니 또 단대 대기 다 zam불이 되기 아니 뒤져기다 수국이 고백이다 뒤져 되는 다다 좋네 아니 뒤져 싸와 시엔 뒤에 치도라는 링 시엔다 zam불이 시엔도 순제 된제가 폐기 요래서 제가도 양의 대시 양의 내려가다 양을 들 수된 거야 되듯이 아니 다 저디 가서 양을 산이 양을 대세도 수국이 뽑아도 양을 들 수된을 가서 추구라 아니 양을 들 수된세도 요 말해서 추구가 다 산지기 지다 산지기 추주국이 섬지기 된제 받으라 아니 대마집에 뒤주되게 세야 나오다 아니 추구 산지기 제바들이 잠체샤서 되게 뒤주케는 요 말해서 추구틀에 틀리면 나와래 이나야 수국이 고바들라 아니 수국 뒤제기 쓰는다 뒤제기 여자 내 개발도 온게 아니 되게 양을 대버들이 공부신이들이 많고요 아 되줄라 양을 마다 쇼로나 소화다가 되래서 뭐지
The form body, the Rupakaya, as it is withdrawn in apparent passing into nirvana, is the drawing in of the Rupakaya, and it allows for the perception of interrupted yet ongoing activities for the well-being of disciples, as a form body in one place concludes its activities, and as it does so, as the Rupakaya is withdrawn, then the activities for the well-being of sentient life may be undertaken again elsewhere for the benefit of other disciples elsewhere. And so nirvana is shown in this way as the Rupakaya is withdrawn. Whereas the language of passing into nirvana or not passing into nirvana is not so applicable to the Dharmakaya. For any discussion of the Dharmakaya's Buddha activities, concluding and resuming, isn't applicable or descriptive. There are different outlooks for describing nirvana and not passing into nirvana.
왜 배나가서 다졌던 거다 오늘 차샤번에 다졌던 거다 고랑 타마 뒤제 타마 지세계 보라고 하다 아니 가래 지금 혼자 뒤차는 또 뒤제 좋네 아니 양을 더 수때마다 양을 딱이 대시시고 양을 딱이래 아니 니도 거다 제보다 그냥 대시시보다 야보지 제나뭐 양양 제기 말했어 아니 대대 숨도 잡아 아니 뭐는 고랑 게 시비 공가오고 양을 마다를 치 쏘았다고 그러는 쏘아 마다 그랬으나 근데 마다가 온게 아니 상기 양을 또 마다가 슈로 치신 쏘아도니 말아와 있는 양을 더 줄때마 어디에 루주 열와 그래서 근데 이도 좀다 간데 양을 다 기나시 다 기상기를 모셔서 디나신다 다 알아서 수수그 라마 계획신이라야 아니 지 양을 믿다 쏘았다고 돼 베티나시 제국이 열에서
Now, our teacher, the Buddha Shakyamuni, in his last moments, made these his last moments as his final disciples had been finally tamed, Prabhupada and others. And so the moment came where it was appropriate for him to pass on into the state of the Tathagata. And at that moment, should his attendant Ananda have requested that he not pass into nirvana, that would have been a different event. Ananda failed to do this, and so the Buddha did pass into nirvana. Now, this was the events as they transpired for our teacher, the Buddha. And then, too, the same lesson may be applied to our living teachers and spiritual mentors.
뭐야, 외치는 아니나 댄슈크 아니 때 고송도 된데 댄데 마고 chen 아니 라마라 냥을면도 소았다베도 어디 죽었다 냥을면도 소았다베 공부 냥을에 레송지.
And so there are in Tibetan custom many occasions for long life pujas in which offerings of body, speech, and mind are made to establish an auspicious connection with the Guru. And the request that the Guru not pass into nirvana is a deliberate form of spiritual practice.
일단 냥을면도 소았다도 다 류지고는 태문자와 아지고는 대바자와 이지고는 소았다도 직바다 뭐 이거 저거고 소았다보다 직바를 해서.
Now, the expression in the request for the Guru not to pass into nirvana, the expressions that are physical, mental, and verbal are the same as they were for the request to turn the wheel of Dharma.
일단 냥을면도 소았다고 고발 가르는 좋아. 즉 타만이들에다 즉 타만이들 그들이 도마 메디 돈도 도마 메고지 개버타면 슈버스를 사들었다 좋아되다. 아니 마리베 문베기 믹동아 되게라다 두시 마샤르치 이게라 믹파 당네 아니 때 도마니기다 간다 그 가다 냥을 마다와 슈네 안 되다다 간다 냐 바게 도와 믹동에 아니 마리베 마발바 믹당네 마리베 마발서 바가 세네 아니 다 간다 빡고 되게라 아니 슈 대권한이 통하지 저러지 아니 왜 대한배 개바 찌니 많이 개바 다음에 The
purpose of the petition comes in the two final lines of verse 6. Do not leave us wandering in blindness. Stay among us for unnumbered ages. Fallen in darkness, the plea is for the Guru to remain so that the eyes of those blinded may be opened, seeing emptiness. The request is for the Guru to remain so that sentient beings may see, as it were, with open eyes, so that the obscuration and darkness may be clarified through seeing thusness. And so the request is, the plea is for the Guru to remain not for one eon or two, but for many countless eons.
어디서다 이제라 제수 냥을면도 소아지로 제라다 이가르는 예다 조선 모아들에서 모아들 아니 다 모아 제디 시라 개천부를 아주 지다 냐면 지도 담아 당봉무시 자주 셈 모르디 소다 모르디 자주 셈 정와세 니바데라 아니 무시 미고메베 미미기 아니 이거 또 타마들 아니 다 모아체 어디에 냠내지도 뭐 종을 주스는 거네 아니 냠내체 여러 와서 뭐
이제는 저러디 아니 장축기세 메바디 뭐시르베
네 뭐시죠 뭐시 미고메베 담보숨서 가지고 이거 전주고 걸어 이거 뭐도 아니 장주 샘저가 담바세로 뭐시 미고메베 장주 샘라도 저 미미기 고바세 타마데 아니 모아서 어디에 냠내지다 가지고 고걸 추주거든 당하여.
And we move now to verses describing dedication. The thorough dedication of all virtues. Dedication is one of the three supreme actions. Actions are especially the preparatory action in the beginning, then the action in the middle, and then the conclusion. And the conclusion is this thoroughgoing dedication of virtue. Now in the presentation of the Bodhicharya avatar, the mind of enlightenment, its preliminaries for its development are the preliminary. Then non-referential or non-objective meditation is the actual event. And then this is concluded in the dedication.
가시네 예로 가시네 라로 가시네 구마 캐도 라로 디나시 차는 아니 펜토고 말와 세단다 랑기 주 깔레 좀 소사샤바 디기디 아니 말라바 제게 탑지 가르스나도 뭐하게 심바치고 뭐하게 심바이나 아니 개와도 잘라 타고 야고 야와나시 아니 뭐도 그 마마냐바 말라바 중으로 마도 네 돼야 차상로데 뭐하게 저거를 해서
To illustrate the idea, imagine working hard and accumulating savings and then failing to take any precaution that those savings are not stolen or lost. And then that they are, and then that all of one's labors are for no use at all. Similarly, then, the accumulation of virtue is preserved so that it doesn't dissipate, it isn't lost through dedication. This is the preservation of one's virtues. So we will conclude here. If there are any questions, we may entertain them, but if there are no questions, then we'll just conclude with our closing verse.
I could use some help in clarification between Sambhogakaya and Rupakaya. And that I thought Sambhogakaya was actually the form in which the Buddha would manifest for Bodhisattvas or those that had at least reached kind of the seeing path. And now I'm unclear the difference between the two.
그래서 아니 똑같이 치르치 또 가르쳤잖아. 아니 조구 세리디다. 아니 롱구 세리디. 이거야라 담보 이거야라. 아니 롱구디 게 아니 장수 심바든서라 아니 땡이치도 롱구디 땡이요. 디 고알렘바이. 아니 얘네한테 트룩송 제잔디 롱구다 조구기 개발
뭐야다? 뭐 이거 제가 이제 추구승이 남된 주고제 추구승이 신된 주고제 이제 다만들어와 다 신된 그 수고텔라양 아니 나세기 롱구다 추구니제 그래서 다 롱구디 아니 고랑이다 코 최소다를 최소다를 코를 예버 그런 최소들의 전주 스탬바 돈이 무슨도 또 산이 연단만도 돈이 무슨도 돈이 마다가 누구 최소 두고 말하고 다 되네 돈이 무슨도 마도니 semje 들도록 되는 제가 치도라 롱구티 주시체 되게 주바 때네 주고 때문에 하고 주고 되기다 semje 망볼을 쳤대 아니 semje 망볼을 다 되는 제가 망체에 주고 치고 그래서 어떻게 해서
Okay. The first two classifications are the Dharmakaya of one's own purpose and the Rupakaya of the purpose of others. Okay. Then within the Rupakaya, there are the Nirmanakaya and the Sambhogakaya.
Yes.
The Sambhogakaya takes its place in a definite place among a definite retinue. That definite retinue is solely, only, exclusively bodhisattvas with insight to emptiness.
Right.
None other can encounter the Sambhogakaya.
Right.
Those without insight into emptiness must rely upon the emanation of the Sambhogakaya in Nirmanakaya form.
Right.
So the Sambhogakaya emanates for those who haven't seen emptiness, Nirmanakaya for those countless individuals. Any other? Okay, one of the answer.
Okay, Krishna, when Krishna discussed made the samaya between the teacher and the student, could Krishna explain more about what the samaya is?
قصدي يعني guru karela يعني lama يعني tujagi يعني jawati ki korla tis kyonane jesi kyona ruchiti يعني damsik seri digi danda
담지 돈바스. 나 담지 돈바. 나 로마다 템레기 왕기 아니 다 간다 간조게. 이때 간조게 다 산제기 연된다. 아니 산제기 무주 실업 생에데 망체직 아니 라메기 균 토보레 식세. 봐. 제가 라메기 균 토보레 라마티 아니 산제다 아니 이담 산제 걸 감각이 제보 라마 산제 제보인스 맞아 산제 군이 제보인스다 산제다 이담 가수가 산제는 모두 제보 이나다 질럽 제보 이나다 심지에 되치고 이나야 라마디 균이 맞아봐 아니 심지에는 된 커도 제보도 연구가 많아 제가 매번 이도 아니 라마디 아니 산제 zanje가 이담도 감각이 삽도 차대요 그래서 그래서 뒤에 라마라 아니 랑이 누구 대바 다보들 시도가 있나 아니 다 연대 탐지 이게 도그래 질락 탐지 도그래 모두 탐지 도그래서 어디지 손에
The samaya is the auspicious connection between the guru and the disciple. The Buddha has the Buddha's qualities, siddhis, all the blessings to confer, but most, if not all, must flow through the guru. So this is the significance of the guru. And the Buddha and the myriad tutelary deities, in whichever action for the well-being of sentient beings in which they are engaged, perform all that they do through none other than necessarily the guru. The guru is therefore an executor of the Buddhas and the tutelary deities, seeing to it that the qualities, siddhis, the blessings of the Buddhas and tutelary deities are met with by the disciple.
라마스 비자발람사 그게 슈주 토보칼라 슈비아타 아니지 람사 맹이 요바데 레 삼탄 요마타 라마스이 다 간다 수수기 하게 다지 담에 벤나바 칸데지 땐 샤웨는 되게 고고 나바 땐바 제가 랑 삼다 식세 아니 대야 저 가르스나 아니 따뜻하게 수수기 다 간다 모두 탐지 종사기 산제기다 종사기 예대 종사기 시디 이삼바 들리지 아니 산제 간다다 가서 밖에 소신나는 삼다 나신체는 전다 밖에 탐지 셈바기 원내기다 간다 모두 종사다 간가기 내가 진행도 어디 라마들어디 탐지 셈바지 아니 될어야 탐지 셈바디 아니 라기 때 뭐바다 템포 좀 될어 니에버 중화 될 제바이나 아니 딜러 때는 이 시스템보다 땡길 셈바가 니에바다 모두 자산 톱 주고 이어봐 탐지 셈바디 템포지 마중에는 아니 밖에 이 시스템보다 땡길 셈바다 저게 이렇게 지투하면 뭐 어떻게겠다 니즈 텐데 삼모 땅제 아니 직하게 수수비 라마데 아니 텐주티라 아니 초도 매봐 야상이 매봐 대대지 텐투가 야고 중원이나 아니 라마기 우르랑 토베 다 간다 지락 토베 땡 네, 자산 상황 차기가 해서
A guru oughtn't to be thought of as whoever situates themselves on the throne and has a recognizable title, but you must encompass in the guru any number of individuals who may be of ordinary appearance, and then recognize that from these and their ordinary appearance may flow the siddhi. They may be the basis for the siddhi and the blessings. Just as in the merit field, in that arrangement and visualization, the fulcrum of the activities is the commitment being. All the actions are performed around this person of the guru. It is faith and confidence in the person of the guru, who is the very commitment being, that is essential for there to be any animation of that commitment being with the wisdom being and the samadhi being. There are no events and performed actions without this commitment being, the taking up of residence by the wisdom being and the samadhi being. So see it this way, and have no habit, be in no habit of finding fault and looking for strengths and weaknesses in ordinary persons.
근데 뭐만 주진 제주나 그게 주진이 센이 바빠 전투만 주진 제주나 그래 지금 그러나 라마데 데스 릭신 보르시 심진 파워 손이들 시켜봐 하서 파워들 요제 주대 손이시 시켜봐 아니 지도서 그러나 라마데 아니 살지 그러나 취 송대도 라마데 라마데 페도 뭐 그런 게 아니 라마데 마송동도 제 가르쳐 로마 길다 그런 리토도 제 아니 로마만 보이고 아니 라마 표현도 잡아 뭐 마시 동도시 라마를 내내 마실 하고서 대 마치바 때 아니 제마 그런 땅에 가지 라마 페도 잡아 페 제도 마소 땅에 라마를 가진 나한테 저랑 왜 페도 잡아 때 내내 쉬어 라마소 스타 그런 데도 제일 쉬초를 해서마도 전들이 전에 아니 라마를 뭐 그거같이 마투가 끼게 아니 그런 똑바냐베 루주지어 해서 지난 그들이 뭐였다니 도로서 직시해잖아 어디를 열잖아 라마생이 즉 야고 때나지 지나 배 때나 연대 차단 배 니마직 나와지나 게트야 이봐 때나로 때서 말이는 하게 또고 많이 함줘야 되게 이봐 되게다 루규 방고 열해서
Now, there's a story of a Mahasiddha from the accounts of the 80 Mahasiddhas. I don't remember this particular Mahasiddha's name, but he was of a low caste, and he sold pigs and took care of pigs, and so was of lowly caste. And he had a student of high caste who had a following. And so when this student of his was teaching, this caretaker of pigs of low class, but who was the teacher, came to observe. And his student teaching, being puffed up and of high caste, pretended not to see his teacher, and didn't receive him with any dignity, and didn't greet him. And so quickly his realizations dissipated. And it's a long story of that, or this is just a short telling of that story to illustrate how it is that if one relies properly upon one's spiritual mentor, then one can swiftly develop realization and realize all the qualities of the guru in a month even, or 2 months. But if one does not respect and properly rely upon the Guru, then any realization one has can just as quickly disappear.
Oh yes, Lama Singedi Yende Sanje Tanje Nyamba Sanjila Yende Chidum Kebala today can yo mares. In a Rangi Lama de Sanje Nanin Chodu Cuba Yimbakazan, cutting tone, Sanje like cutting choa. Then take some Mibo Chene, and in time you need you like Chidula, Lama Rangi Lama la Nieba Chonsona, and then you need the Lama Nieba. Or the day that would use a Lavina Mark, Galega, Shuchova, she started to the door of the young Mareson.
The Guru has all the qualities of the Buddhas. There is no difference in the qualities they have. But the Guru distinguishes themselves as best among Buddhas by virtue of their kindness to their disciple. So see it this way, so that realization may swiftly develop. The Guru's qualities are of this sort.
Oh, yeah, that Lama, they say in the Lama, she did Georgia Channel, she did the legal, she did the Lama, they share, and that Lama, the pain that the share and to do some of that, gave a younger. And telling on the shop, Maram Soma, and Dada to so much.
So time is just about up now. Later we will find in the Great Treatise on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment, the section dedicated to proper reliance upon the spiritual mentor with the conclusion of the preparatory rites. And so the qualities and benefits of the Guru will be taken up there in full. But here we will conclude and recite our closing prayers.
Oh, yeah, that Lama Tenzu, Yang Chane, and it talk what you like, Gemaje, talk what you to Gemaje. Tamazo said Dilla Sanji, you go on tomato Seadota, and it's Yaman said Mang Chechik, Lama Tenzu Sambu, Chevaina, and Yaman said Lochulakia in a Lochulakia Yavata. Misichil Kia in the Lochin Kia Yavatuka, Lupina, Carriosna, Lamatin to Yabuchunga Wangi, or you need to Wanyama. Lamatin to take Mariba Chagi, Rangi Tobanyama, or the digit beauty pay, Hasakalan, Kachin, which is from the restaurant.
The recognition of the Guru and appreciation for the Guru without discriminating between strengths and weaknesses is basis for stories of swift development of realization in disciples. So the rapidity of that realization of the qualities of the Guru is everywhere described as dependent upon the way in which one relies upon the Guru, whether one does so properly or not. And really this is then a critical practice. It is a critical practice that can whittle away the time it takes to achieve the qualities of the Guru from what would otherwise take 10 years down to 1 year, or what otherwise might well take one full lifetime to 1 year. Now there are many stories of what good yields come from proper reliance upon the spiritual mentor, all the qualities and strengths of the Guru. They're all over the place, accounts of this kind. Okay, so time's up, so we'll recite our closing prayer now.
Oh, so that's the Manam Jad is that. Manam to Jaguar, she didn't come there like she did. In a neighbor, Senja, the Rang pay never be to meet in the Bashidria. And it is Manon Janan degree, and it demo was dictated. It on to Javana, to us and Jet Payabak, Tendori, somebody Kulun, the legislature Java in animal on the top chamber Savi response.
We can simply wish for the dedication of our virtues through the recitation of the closing prayer to bring peace and an end to suffering to sentient beings in this world as we know it, wherever they may reside. But an even broader, more encompassing commitment to the well-being of all sentient beings as they are innumerable and boundless. This too may animate our prayer as we recite these closing prayers.
Ene rendo bele zonye kadara yang kashi sabwa lome mare gi non lowa nare yave ombo langirchi Dema sumbe zera kundu yang jambe yang ji sewe jizo Dembe repa kusan manji jo Manyene rube gena neche Rangi jijin tobe langi ne Shura zewe chanwe kati Rue yiji mba seje ne Yawe tembo yurin tenju Tembo rinjin choki majaba Chabyan nyamba yube chobe Ninje chebe yira jewa yi Pende deje sewa chewa Seje jare menjun chile le ru chanju lanje rembe Tadu nange yila bede je Yawe zeba rindu yangu Lasa rube tunjin rujin je Yaje seje meda mendo Sera bundu Yawe maha yi Nanda nanda jawa yushi Kanzi tiba chola juju ji Tsuji chula tsumba deyi Tude nadi tadu roji ti Tashi gyatsu chukun gyatsu
From my two collections, vast the space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I've discerned them. May I hold Buddha's teachings for a very long time, with my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined. May I offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by following the complete graduated path of enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that illuminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent path never be parted in any of their lives from the purest paths created by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.
Lagi jini sabe yewa de tenando Kebara chizun lo san jabo di tembe nibo rendu seti Kare rawe kume jinko de pendam de bo Tere ziwan de zin yazo yi shabe sidi mardu tenjo jin Jambe bawo jidar chenpa tang kundu sangpo deyang deshi Teta kunyi jesu talo je jewa teta tamje ratu Jesu shebe jewa tamje ge moma kama chutu ma Tashin jewe tawa digun yang Sangpo chuje ratu Chanju senju rengu senju Maje bana deju Yewa nyamba neba
I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drop that shine forever. In the land is fertile by snowy mountains. You are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful, sins and guilt. Please remain until psychic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and the Mantabhadra too realize things as they are. Also, I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with a dedication praised as the best by the victorious Tuscan ones of the three times, so that I might perform the noble Boddhisattva deeds. May the supreme jewel Bodhicitta that is not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Good night, one and all. Hello.